My name is Saul. We've been working on this truck here. We have a 1987 F150 with a 5.0 liter engine in it, and it's a 4x4 pickup. We bought it with it running just on the rear tank. We were told when we purchased it that the front tank, the pump was out, so I went ahead and redid the fuel pump, changed it out. We're on the second one now because we thought the first one that was sent to us was faulty. That's not the case. We got looking into things and found out that there is a small reservoir that actually some contains a filter, others do not in the later models. This one was supposed to come with a filter. It's called a tank selector valve. And what basically that does is it's got 4 incoming lines, two per tank. One is a feeding to the engine line and the other one's a return to the tank for each tank, and then on the other side you have the ones going to the engine and the return back into the system. What it is that selector is getting gunked up. Now we've searched online for replacement parts. We've looked for even a rebuild kit and they don't have it. I even searched for videos on how to repair this, and usually I was kind of surprised. You can run into some type of video of somebody fixing these things or being able to repair them. Most people are in the same trouble that we were in, was chasing parts down all over the country trying to get it. We found it on Amazon, and I believe one more, I can't remember what the name of that site was, but they go anywhere from $180 to $220 for the reservoir. That's outrageous. For 1987 to be putting that much money into a reservoir just doesn't make any sense. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you just a really simple trick that worked for us, taking that reservoir down, cleaning it up, putting it back in. I know it works because I've already ran it. Here we're just doing the video just to help people out in case you're in the same situation and can't afford to be dumping $225 for a reservoir. So, some tools that you'll need. You're obviously going to be pulling the lines off the tanks going into that small container, that tank selector. So you'll need a metal tub or something to catch all the fuel in. For me, that works out just great because I can keep the fuel clean. I can bring it out, dump it in 5-gallon containers, and that way I'm catching all the fuel that's coming out of it. Obviously, some good lighting helps because you're underneath the truck. The rest of the tools you're going to need. We got a couple of ratchets here. I like these because they are pretty easy to maneuver. They work real good. They've lasted. These are gear wrench sets. I'm not saying they're great. They just work for me. You get whatever you need. Here's a Craftsman. The ratchets for these are 10 millimeter or a ratcheting wrench 10 millimeter. These work out really well. You can get in there and just break those nuts loose. This is what's going to take the reservoir apart. This is a 1/4 inch socket for the top, and I'll show you how to use that later to take the assembly apart. You'll need a couple of screwdrivers because it does have clips up there. The clips were just here. I was going to show you the type of clip. Thank you. This is a Ford fuel line clip. They're pretty common. You can pick up at any auto parts store. You are going to break them. They get brittle, they break, and if you've never taken that part down, you're more likely going to break them, so just might as well pick some up. Some gasket maker for the top of that housing. I'll show you what you will need to do there later. And then some WD-40. This is going to be what's going to break that whole assembly apart so it actually works correctly. Now, I've already taken mine apart. I'm just going to show you the steps of how to get to it and get it out of there so that you're not really fighting it as much as I did the first time. Now, we live in the state of Idaho, and the state of Idaho, the Department of Transportation loves their salt, so they put a lot of salt on the road. So everything down here is going to be really rusted up. And this is a 4x4, so you got your transfer case right up against the frame. Okay, right here is your front tank, and way in the back, where the spare tire usually sits, is your rear tank. You're going to have 4 lines coming out of here right into this reservoir between the transfer tank and the frame. So if you're wondering if you have one of these reservoirs in your truck, just do me a favor, go outside, crawl underneath your driver's side door, look up, and if you see a small black container, with kind of a skid plate protecting it, then you have the same system on yours. Every year is different. I'm not saying you're going to have one or not. So these clips, or let's start here. There's a bolt that goes into this bracket. As you can tell, this bracket, it's already loose. I'm just doing this for the purpose of showing you how to do it. But this bolt here, for me, it broke. That's a 10 millimeter socket. It snapped. It was too rusted. There's two more at the very top, and I've already got them loose. So once you get, there's only 3 bolts on that skid plate. Once you get it broken loose, all you're going to do is bring it up to the front of the transfer case, bring it straight down, and it'll get out of the way for you. Don't lose your bolts that came out of it. You might have to replace the ones that break. Here's the reservoir that you're after. Okay, now if you look on this side of the frame, there's 2 bolts right here. Okay, these are also 10 millimeter. That's what holds the housing or the reservoir, what they call a tank selector valve, in place. Now you can tell mine is starting to leak gas. I've had it in and out already. Like I said, I've already proven that this works. This is what we're trying to get out of this vehicle. Now the clips that I showed you go right up into these hoses, and it's pretty simple. They just slide in and out. Do we have one here, Britt? So these clips, basically, I don't know where we can get the best shot for you, but if you look, there's just little slots in these hoses. And I don't know if this is going to show it correctly. They go in there like that, okay? You get that? And what I do is I usually take that flathead screwdriver when I start, and I just put it back there. I just put a flathead screwdriver between the hose and the clamp. Now mind you, like I said earlier, these are going to break, so just plan on getting new ones. Pull it out and don't be rough with it. Just keep working it. Usually it's full of dirt and dust and what else is up there, and eventually it just comes out. Okay? After that, your hose is pretty much just, you can slide it off. It's going to take a little bit of pressure. Don't break the plastic housing around the hose, because that's how you lock it back with the clip. So don't go putting a screwdriver or pry bar up there and snapping that line, okay? So you're just going to cause yourself a lot more headaches. Alright, so now we're at the step of removing this. Now the reason you want to pull these bolts out in the back is so you can get better access to these hoses and these clips. If you leave the bolts in place and try to pull the hoses out, you're going to cause yourself headaches just for unnecessary reasons. So you start by pulling these hoses. These are the ones that go up to the engine. There's a line that goes to the engine, and then the return that returns the excess fuel back into this housing, which then sends it back to whatever tank you're running on. So once you remove these, and there's no way you're going to get these mixed up, because the return line, the fitting for it, or the hose, is bigger, or the return line is smaller than the main line feeding the engine on all sides of this. The only thing you need to pay attention to is the back side over here, and I really don't know if that would mess with you much, but the top hoses go to the front tank. The bottom hoses go to the back tank. And your return lines are always sitting up against the frame. The feeding lines are up towards transmission, on the transmission side. So if you keep that in mind, you shouldn't have any trouble putting those back the way they belong. Now we'll just pull these out on the back end. Now mind you, I've already done this, so I'm not getting a lot of fuel out of it. I will here in a minute. What I do is I pull my return lines first, because they're more likely going to be dry. Then I start pulling my feeding lines, or my lines that bring the fuel from the tank to the reservoir, because those are the ones that are going to have fuel, they're going to have pressure. As soon as you remove them, they're going to start leaking. Please be careful not to break these lines. So the top line, and here's where we want to have our tank ready. The top line first, which is the front tank, and there goes the gas. And usually if you can just take the line up real careful like, and kind of set it up higher than your tank, it'll stop it from leaking. Depends how full your tank is, obviously. Then we'll do the bottom, which is your back tank, and that one, if you have fuel in it, will also want to leak. Again, bring it up a little higher than your tank and possibly that'll stop leaking. But if you have a full tank, you're going to need to have some extra fuel tanks or gas canisters ready to dump out your metal container and then proceed to catch the rest of the gas. Okay, so at this point, this piece is ready to come out. And in order to get it out, you're going to want to bring it out in front. Get that out of the way. You're going to want to bring it out in front on top over your four-wheel drive line if yours is four-wheel drive. If yours is two-wheel drive, this is probably going to be a lot easier for you. There probably isn't even a skid plate there. This is what you're after, okay? These two go to the engine. These four pivots, they go to your two tanks. Top ones go to the front tank, bottom ones go to the back tank. See how these are bigger than these fittings? That's because these feed your engine and these return your fuel back to your tank. So let's proceed outside. We'll show you where the issue lies. Alright, so last thing I forgot to mention was having a metal container or something like this to catch anything that, you know, if it's your first time doing it, you don't know what's in here. There could be springs, there could be bolts, there could be, who knows. Have this, it'll catch everything for you. Down here in the bottom, this is a filter. I'm not going to take it apart. It's a filter that you can pick up at your auto parts store, or, you know, I don't want to mention any names because everybody's got their favorite stores or favorite ordering places, but I ordered mine from Rock Auto. They had it, it was cheap, they sent it to me, it got to my house, you know, saved me a lot of headaches. We're not very accessible to auto parts stores up here where we're at, so it could easily be an hour drive if it's not here in town. So I ordered off of Rock Auto, got it in the mail, it worked great. The rest of this, there's nowhere to order it. So, your problem is lying up here in this housing. These are small little grabber screws. They're going to come off. You want to use a 1/4 inch. Don't go trying to when you assemble this. Don't go trying to torque down on them like you're putting a tire on. Okay. All you're going to do is you're going to strip them. You're going to cause yourself a bunch of headaches. So we're going to get this off real quick, and then we'll show you what the issue is and why your tank, one tank or the other, is not working. We actually took this apart, put it back up there the first time, and it was actually sending the fuel from the back tank, because the valves were not shutting off correctly underneath. It was sending the fuel from the back tank to my front tank, and it would empty out your back tank. Well, as soon as you went to move to your front tank, then the pump wouldn't work because the valves aren't changing. And that's why everybody believes that it's their fuel pumps going out. Well, the cheapest fuel pump, and I wish that I'd known Rock Auto had a $60 fuel pump with a lifetime warranty on it. I bought mine from a local store here, and it cost me $110 for a fuel pump that I probably didn't need. And that gets to be frustrating when you're doing this, trying to figure it out on your own. Again, I'm not a professional mechanic. I didn't go to college for this stuff. I'm a backyard mechanic. I grew up on farms and dairies. So we were taught that you try to fix what you can by yourself. If it's out of your control, then send it to somebody who knows how to doing it. This is more trying to help somebody. I'm not responsible for whatever damage you cause to your truck. If you don't know what you're doing and you've never done this kind of stuff, then just take it in and have somebody fix it for you. You know, I appreciate positive feedback, you know, especially with mechanics out there that know what they're doing. They've been through this kind of stuff. Like I said, I haven't seen a video on this, so I'm just trying to help people. If you got some smart-ass comment where you did 10 years of, you know, mechanic schooling and you got all the degrees in the world and you're a master mechanic, that's great. I appreciate it. If you got positive feedback, if you're going to be a smart-ass, keep your comments to yourself. Anyways, so here's the lid to it. It's going to have two little settings where you'll have to, when you go to set it back in, you'll have to figure out what holes are for the settings and which ones are for the screws. And you can tell right here there's two of them right close to each other. So one is bigger than the other, just to keep it aligned. So if you try to set it in a certain way, it ain't going to fit until you actually get those lined up correctly. See that there? You got to just kind of mess with it, especially if you're like me and not paying attention when you take it off. So you want to get those to line up. Probably should do this towards the end. Let's see here. There's a possibility there. That one's not it, so we'll turn it around. Sits like that. But anyways, if you look at it and you look at this marker here, this one's going towards that front spigot there. So just remember that and you shouldn't have any trouble. I never did. I just take crap apart and hope I can put it back together later. Anyways, you get underneath here, it's got this diaphragm here. It's got this tiny little screw on there. Take your Phillips, you remove that. You can just set that in there. Obviously the gas is not going to hurt it. Then you have this little round plate here. And here's where the trouble's at. So the first time I took it apart, I thought this thing just moved back and forth and it was fine, that it was doing what it's supposed to. That actually is not the case. There's everything, the housing in here, which I haven't been able to take apart, and I'm not willing to because I don't want to go out and buy this for $225. It's actually spring-loaded in both directions. So it'll come this far up. See how gas is starting to come out? But what I hadn't realized was that it actually goes down as well. See how it went all the way down? Well, mine was not coming back up. So it would go down and it would stay down. That's because there's got to be corrosion, or I don't know, maybe the water got in there, it rusted something, or it just got dirty, but it wouldn't come up, it would just stay down. So what I did was we took some WD-40, doesn't matter if you like PB Blaster, use that, whatever, and you start spraying it right underneath those little rods that go down into the springs. And then you just sit here and work that up and down, and you keep spraying it, and you do it going the other way too. Okay? You'll feel the difference. If your tanks aren't working, this is going to be your issue more likely. You'll feel the difference. It'll start loosening up to where it's working real, freely and going up and down. I even went a little farther and I sprayed in the lines themselves so that whatever's in there, whatever spring, we can really lubricate it all the way around. And again, just sit there and work that thing up and down. And like I told you earlier, I've already done this, so I know it works. I'm not sitting here guessing. I've already done that part. Once you feel that that's clean enough, all you're doing is going to reassemble this in the order you took it off. So you put this back on. Again, I don't know how to stress to you the fact that you don't want to over crank this stuff. You're going to strip something if you do. So just be cautious. Like I said, you can do this to your tires or something else, but don't do it on these things, because as soon as you strip it, you are going to be buying something new. And at a hefty price. They're pretty proud of these little diagrams or diaphragms and all these little housings. So here's the critical part. I did all this with mine. We put it back underneath our truck. You would think that this lip here going onto this diaphragm or this rubber piece here would seal it. That's not the case. I actually ran it down the road. Everything was working. I ran it on both tanks. Came back, parked it. I came out to check on it for a while because I wanted to make sure that these fuel pumps were going to stay working. I came back to check on it, and my lovely wife pointed out to me that the damn line was leaking. Came out, there was gas coming right out of this diaphragm. It was actually coming right out of this lid and shooting up over my transfer case and then dripping right onto the ground. I thought I had messed up a hose. That's not the case. It was just that I put this back on. Yeah, I had some gasket maker on there, but obviously not enough time for it to set. I just crank it back in there and I wanted to see if it was going to run. I got a little ahead of myself and it caused me some issues. So here's where the gasket maker comes into play.
Okay, I've had this laying around. It works really well on other stuff. I put it on my power steering pumps, everything else. It's a high heat, I know. People are going to say you're not supposed to use it for that, but you know what? It's silicone gasket maker. It worked fine for me. You grab whatever you feel comfortable. So then, you're going to take this. You're just going to take small dabs of it. And you're going to set it up around this lid. You want to get rid of all your gas and everything. You want it as dry and as clean as possible so that you get a good seal. Then you're just going to take it and start placing it just around the edge on both. Here and let me grab some more so you can see where it's going to sit. And here. You want to get them kind of around holes for the screws because they are grabber screws. So if it's not sealed, you're going to have gas coming out of there. Mine was leaking between the lid and the top surface of this. But you know what? It's not that easy to be climbing in there, taking it out, putting it back in, taking it out, putting it back in. So just go the extra mile. I'm even going to go as far as putting some around the screws when I put the screws down in there. And please don't over tighten those screws. It's just going to cause you a bunch of headaches. So I'm going to finish up the video here. I don't want to make it an hour and a half here video. That's going to go back on there. I'm going to finish the gasket sealant on there. I'm going to place that back on very carefully. Make sure it lines perfect. I'm going to take all of my bolts, put them back in there, and crank them down. Again, you're not trying to crank it down to like a tire or something. You can even look up the spec on it to see what your foot-pounds are supposed to be. But please, whatever your one hand can do. Usually my thumb rule is if I can grab it on the palm of my hand and just turn it and not over crank on it and they all feel the same, I leave it alone. Next thing is let your gasket sealant or your silicone set up before you put that back in there and start running it. Let it adhere, let it set up before you run it. Okay? Hopefully this video helps. Like I said, any positive feedback, I appreciate it, or anything that I might have missed, I appreciate any comments. Again, if you're going to be a smartass, save it for somebody else. I'm probably one of the biggest smartass you'll ever meet. First time doing a video like this, so I'm just trying to be helpful. All right, thank you.